Warning: the contents of this review may contain images that some people may find disturbing. Viewer discretion is advised. I'm starting to sound like a broken record here, but Corpse Party has really come a long way as a franchise from its humble beginnings as a PC-98 game. The series has since expanded its original story and has even had sequels, and Corpse Party Blood Drive is one of them. Before we go any further though, this review will contain spoilers for Corpse Party Blood-Covered Repeated Fear, Corpse Party Book of Shadows, and Corpse Party Sweet Sachiko's Hysteric Birthday Bash, so I do recommend playing through those games first before watching this video. But hey, if you're cool with spoilers from those games, then feel free to watch on, and I'll try not to spoil this game too much. Interesting thing to note is that Corpse Party Blood Drive actually came out after Corpse Party 2 Dead Patient, and the events of Blood Drive required some changes to be made to Corpse Party 2, but that's a story for another time. Corpse Party Blood Drive follows on from the events seen at the end of Corpse Party Book of Shadows, where Ayumi Shinozaki and her classmate and friend Naomi Nakashima try to revive their dead friends and teacher from Heavenly Host Elementary, which turned out very wrong, and resulted in Ayumi's sister Hinoe saving them and losing her head over it. Fast forward a couple of months later, and the survivors of Heavenly Host are suffering from survivor's guilt about it, as their friends no longer exist in their world, and they're the only ones who know about them. Ayumi is hit especially hard with this, as the Sachiko Ever After charm which sent them to Heavenly Host in the first place was her idea, and so feels responsible for everything that's happened. After being tipped off that reclaiming the Book of Shadows and using it at Heavenly Host would revive her friends, Ayumi resolves to reclaim the Book of Shadows and to go back to Heavenly Host Elementary one last time. The game is split into 10 chapters, with you playing as various characters returning from previous games, as well as the new ones which I'll touch upon later. And the game returns to an adventure game with visual novel elements, much like Blood-Covered Repeated Fear, except with the use of 3D models instead of sprites. Much like its predecessors, the game is also well known for the numerous bad endings to befall the player, as well as the depictions of gore and the sounds that accompany it. But is the game any good? Find out in The Good. The story was something I enjoyed with Blood Drive, and it's also a bit of a double-edged sword for me, as I'll also explain later. Ayumi takes the role of the main character, and the game really helps her develop as a character, given that the Shinozaki bloodline is a major focus of the story. Seeing Ayumi grow from the game's prologue right through to the end was pretty well conveyed, and the game also does a good job with how characters interact with one another. As well as Ayumi wanting to find the Book of Shadows, the game also features other characters alongside the Heavenly Host survivors and explores why they've gone to the school. As you play through the game, you'll also unlock EX chapters that mostly fills in the information about events that happened before, during, and after the events of the game. Of course, as I mentioned earlier, you can't have a Corpse Party game without its share of bad endings, and that doesn't change with this game, as it can get quite descriptive on how bad the characters get mangled up. The gameplay was something I really liked. As you explore Heavenly Host, the school itself has become much more dangerous, with shards of glass and debris on the ground to hurt you if you walk over them, tripwires that can really hurt you unless you disarm them, cabinets falling on you, fleshy parts of the ground that can sprout a tentacle to restrain you, and phantoms roaming the corridors. Thankfully, the game does provide an ample amount of healing items if you get hurt, as well as talismans to take care of the phantoms. I do like the game's hiding mechanics, where your character can hide away in a cabinet to lose the phantom, though if they see you hiding in the cabinet, they will pull you out, dealing damage. If you struggle with this, you can cheese it by saving out a candle and reloading, which will not only put the phantom back where it originally was, but will also restore all of your health. If you do manage to escape from the phantom, they will not go back to where they originally were. They may patrol the area hoping to find you, and simply going into a classroom or a different area won't help you get away, as most phantoms in the game will chase you as you change locations. You can run from them, but the phantoms will also increase their pace to match you, and your character can run out of stamina, forcing your character to stay still until they catch their breath, and for the phantom to catch you. Darkening mechanics return, in which negative thoughts can drive your characters insane, and you can purify it by interacting with statues found in various locations. The game also has time segments where making the wrong choice, going where you shouldn't go, or being unable to escape an event will result in one of many bad endings. The game, much like its predecessors, makes excellent use of binaural audio, in which the voice actors and actresses speak into a dummy head microphone to create a 3D sound effect, so it sounds like the characters are beside, or in front, or behind you, as per this example. Collecting name tags returns, and you can find the remains of other unfortunates that had entered Heavenly Host and how they died. The light is another feature of the game where you can use a flashlight or your character's phone to illuminate the school as you explore it. However, using it too much will cause the light to go out and for you to use batteries that you find in the game to continue using it. Or you can just turn the unlimited flashlight on, but where's the fun in that? As fun as the game is though, it's not without faults, so let's look at them in the bad. Much like in Sweet Sachiko's Hysteric Birthday Bash, which I'll just shorten to Sachiko's birthday from now on, the game heavily relies on you having not just played the previous Corpse Party games, but to have also read some of the other materials available about the game in order to know who some of the characters even are. It also doesn't help that this game originally released in the West before the localization of Sachiko's birthday, so I'm sure people who originally played on the Vita at launch might have wondered who on earth half these new people even are. One character in particular isn't even explained at all throughout the game, and is only mentioned in one of the EX chapters, and the only way to know more about her is to have played Sachiko's birthday, as I'm sure everyone who's played Blood Drive first would have been confused with how she seems familiar with Yoshiki, as well as her running around calling him Knight, which is a pun on his name. Some characters are first introduced through the Book of Shadows light novel, and another appears in the Corpse Party Cemetery Zero manga. Regardless, unlike Sachiko's birthday, there's no recap on the events of the previous games, so a lot of the information about this game will go over your head unless you played the other games and read some of the other available Corpse Party media. I understand it makes sense that you play earlier games to understand the sequels, but if you have to go into other forms of media to build the complete picture, given that a lot of it doesn't have official English releases, it really puts you on the back foot when you do meet these characters for the first time and you're expected to know who they are and what they do. This particular issue I have with the game applies to the PC version. The PC version, for whatever reasons, does not have full controller support, and before I could even play the game I had to sit down for a good 5 to 10 minutes just mapping my controller to work with the game, just to find that when I mapped the vertical movement it was inverted. For a game that originally came out on a handheld, you would think the game would be right at home being mapped to a controller, but that is clearly not the case. The choices made in the game appear to be mapped to buttons instead of simply allowing you to select the answer you want to make. I won't show footage of this as it's major spoilers, but the final challenge of the game requires you to make choices, and if you have a controller mapped, the button to select which choice will not appear or appear whited out, so you don't know if you selected the right choice or not until it's too late. I ended up just switching to keyboard just to do it, as these choices are timed, and at least with the keyboard the prompts show up. Other than that, I've got nothing else here, so let's wrap things up with the opinion. Corpse Party Blood Drive I felt was a good entry to follow up from the cliffhanger that was the end of Book of Shadows. The story I thought was pretty good and kept me entertained, and I do like the gameplay changes introduced, which felt like a bit of an upgrade to blood-covered repeated fear. The game does require you to have a fairly extensive knowledge of the series through other media, and at least for the PC version the game should have full controller support, but otherwise it's a solid game. If you're a fan of anime horrors, then Corpse Party as a series is something worth checking out. So with that, it's time for my rating. I would give Corpse Party Blood Drive Aiko posing with her talisman out of 10. Thanks for watching and stay tuned for the next Infinite Backlog review. If you enjoyed today's review, feel free to check out some of our other videos and subscribe for more. You can also follow us on Twitter, Instagram and our Facebook page. Once again, thank you for watching.